Views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet, with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you can post your comments whether you agree with me or not. And the one story that really got the comments was about the Westboro Baptist Church. In fact, former members and people who know the people who run that church posted comments. You never know who you're going to reach on the internet. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, well, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. I'm going to set the stage for you by tossing out 4 topics that I would like to talk about today. Any one of them could carry the entire show. But they're all so good. We've just been blessed, I guess, with so many great stories in the past couple of days that we just can't get to them all unless we get to them all. So here are the 4 issues that I'd like to ask you your opinions on. The first has to do with Barack Obama flip-flopping on the release of additional photos of detainees who underwent extraordinary interrogation under the Bush administration. Now, the ACLU filed a lawsuit asking that the government order, that the court order the government to release these photographs, which are apparently pretty damaging to the previous administration. And the Obama administration, through its Justice Department, in a brief filed with the court, said, hey, we won't object. We won't object. Well, now that he has announced that he's going to Egypt in June to address the Muslim population, he's apparently rethinking that strategy because he doesn't want half the world to be pissed off at the United States when he's traveling to the Middle East, in my opinion. I believe that's the reason. He also says he doesn't want to endanger Americans and enrage people against Americans and put the brave men and women of our armed forces at greater risk than they already are. But is he a man of principle or not? Or is he like just every other politician, that he makes his decisions based on what is politically prudent? And then if that's the case, what happened to change with the Obama administration? Not good. Yesterday we talked about intolerance. And I was speaking specifically about the rise of fascism and Nazism and anti-Semitism, but I made very, very clear my position that intolerance against one is intolerance against all. And you know what? As if to prove my point, we learned today that the Westboro Baptist Church in Topeka, Kansas, whose members travel the country to protest against gays and to protest against members of the military. You know, these, oh my God, I almost violated the G rating here. These highly non-evolved individuals. How is that? Saved. I really almost stepped over the line there. These highly non-involved or uninvolved or maybe de-evolved individuals actually have the audacity to go to the funerals of our men and women in the armed forces who have died in combat and protest and say, this is God's will. He is punishing you for participating in this war. You deserve to die. Are you kidding me? And there was a kid in Reno who was abducted. A 9-year-old kid was abducted in Reno and molested and killed. And they went to that funeral and says, well, that's what you get for living in such a horrible city that allows anything against God's will. Because you allowed your child to be brought up in Reno, this was God's will. These people are crazy, ladies and gentlemen, and now they're going after the Jews. And it just makes my point that if we allow intolerance against one, then we're going to allow intolerance against all, and it will spread, and it will spread, and it will continue to spread. So, yeah, it's easy to step up and fight people like this if they're attacking homosexuals and you're gay. It's easy to step up and fight people like this if they're anti-Semitic and you are Jewish. It's a lot more difficult to step up when you're not the targeted group. But guess what? We're all members of the same human family, and we owe it to ourselves and to our fellow citizens of the world to oppose organizations like this whenever they pop up. Interesting story also I want to throw your way. There's been an analysis conducted which shows that for each prisoner incarcerated in the federal system, it costs more than $25,000 per prisoner to house them in a prison. But if you house them in a supervised setting, i.e. in their own homes, and you restrict their movements and have federal probation officers make sure that they operate within the confines of what the judge orders, it only costs $3,700 annually for each individual on supervision. So the suggestion is quit incarcerating people. The killer part of this story, or as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story, is guess whose analysis that is? The Federal Bureau of Prisons themselves. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, when I wrote this piece, some people came up with other suggestions on how to save our tax dollars, and maybe you have one or two to suggest. And then the one that really threw me for a loop, and not a Fruit Loop, because we're talking about Cheerios. Get this! Cheerios, as you all well know, has been advertising that if you eat 2 bowls of Cheerios a day, you can lower bad cholesterol in your body. Well, the FDA says, oh, wait a minute, General Mills. If you're making that claim, well, then you are promoting a drug. I'm not kidding you. When does the government stop sticking its nose into our business? When does the government stop sticking its nose into the business of the free enterprise system? Get out of town. It's a drug. Oh, does that mean that because schools are drug-free zones, that if you're eating Cheerios on your porch and you live across the street from a school, you're going to get arrested? And as I suggested on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, what's next? Apples, because they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So maybe apples are a drug as well. FDA, go regulate things that need to be regulated. Stop with this nonsense. You're just embarrassing yourselves, the federal government. Okay, those are the 4 issues. To recap very quickly, Obama